So for today's video, we're back with little Emma again. Yesterday, if you watched the video, we did a 0 to 60 mile per hour test in the Toyota Tacoma. Today we're going to do that with the Audi Q5. Figured it'd be interesting just to compare and see how that time stacks up with the manufacturer suggested time of 5.5 seconds. And so headed out on a run, we're going to go drop Emma off with Grandma and Grandpa and then give it a little go. Now, while we do have a Recaro car seat, which is pretty sweet fit for the Audi Q5, and Emma would be perfectly safe participating in the 0 to 60 mile per hour test. She also probably just love to be a part of that. More than likely, I'm guessing that Mom and Grandma and Grandpa probably wouldn't be too excited about that, so we're gonna go drop her off prior to the test. Fortunately, there's a nice little flat section of road out near their house. On the test yesterday with the Tacoma, we saw that our time was pretty far off of what the manufacturer's time was. They say that the Tacoma will achieve about 7 seconds, 0 to 60. We saw a time of about 10 seconds, and so one of the components of that I think might have been that the road was a little sloped, and so we're going to try to find a flatter section for today's video with the Q5. So only one more step necessary to achieve a successful journey over to Grandma and Grandpa's house. Success. So this is the 2013 Audi Q5 fitted with the 3.0 supercharged engine. Now there's a few different versions of the Q5. You've got the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. We've got the hybrid version of the Q5. There is the 3.0, which we've got here. They've got the TDI engine, which is the diesel. And then there's also the SQ5, which has the same 3-liter supercharged engine that you have in this vehicle, but it's tuned to perform slightly better. And so there's a number of different Q5s out there on the market. This is basically a step below the SQ5 as far as performance and capability. The 0 to 60 time is 5.5 seconds. If you jump down to the SQ5, you'll take a second off of that and get to 4.5 seconds. Now, 0 to 60 times, when manufacturers release them or other auto publications, they're going to be out on a test track. It's completely level. They're going to be doing a number of tests, and they're probably going to publish whatever the fastest result is that they achieve. Now, obviously, our test is going to be a little bit less sophisticated because we're going to be just timing it using the stopwatch on the phone, and we don't have a test track to be able to do our test. And so it's going to be a little bit less accurate, but one of the main things that I actually want to test in the vehicle is that there's a number of different driving modes. You've got your comfort mode, you've got your sport mode or dynamic mode, and then there's also an individual mode where you can set your own preferences, and then a fourth setting that is auto that will adjust based on your driving patterns and habits. And so what I'd like to do actually is do 3 of the tests. The individual mode, you just choose which performance measure you'd like, and so that's not really that applicable. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a test in comfort mode, which should see the poorest result, I guess, or the slowest time, 0 to 60. Then we're going to test it in the auto mode, which should automatically adjust to how we're driving the vehicle and adjust the performance accordingly. So that'll probably sit somewhere in the middle, and then likely we should see that the sport mode achieves the best performance because it's already going to be set to make those gear shifts a little bit quicker, run the RPMs a little bit higher. And so be interesting to see how those 3 compare, and see how much of a difference there really is, and see how close we can get to that 5.5 mark. Now, another item that's important to mention that will affect the performance a little bit is that we're actually running winter tires on the vehicle right now. So it's a softer rubber. They're going to be a little heavier tires. They're not going to be as conducive to getting a fast result on this 0 to 60 run. And so that's also another factor that's going to play in a little bit. But again, gives you kind of more of a real world number what that 0 to 60 time is. Okay, so we've got ourselves a nice flat straight section of roadway here. The pavement's a little bit wet, so that's going to affect things a little bit, but like I mentioned, we've got winter tires on the car and we've got quattro all-wheel drive, and so we shouldn't see a lot of wheel slipping here I don't think it's going to affect things too much. There's a flag in one of the trees here, so it's a good starting point that we can use for each of the tests, make sure that they're consistent. So we've got everything turned off on the vehicle. We've got the automatic start-stop turned off so that the engine is running. That's key for the test. Heat and everything's turned off, no vehicle components running, so nothing that should affect the performance in any way. And so we're going to start off with a test in just normal drive mode and see what we get. I'll hit the stopwatch at the same time that we hit the gas pedal. That's 60. So that was a 6.82. Not too shabby actually, considering again that this isn't a test track, that we've got a little bit wet pavement, and our timing methods are not very sophisticated. That's pretty close to that 5.5. And like I mentioned, that's using just normal drive mode. And so it'll be interesting to see how the results change on our next two tests using the auto mode and then the dynamic mode. Okay, so for test number 2, in order to change the drive mode, we press this drive select button. We're going to change it to auto, shows it on the dashboard, and then we'll get our sophisticated timing equipment ready to go again. Make sure there's no cars coming behind us. And I'll hit the start time at the same time as the accelerator once again. And there we go, 60. So that was a 6.92. So basically the same time. Obviously the precision of our timing is not very precise, and so we wouldn't necessarily expect that you know, the time's going to be down to the 0.1 second. I'd say the accuracy is within about 0.5 seconds. And so it looked like in that case that we didn't really see any difference between normal drive mode and the auto mode. My guess is that's because the vehicle is designed to react to your driving style. You're probably not going to get immediate change from the vehicle on driving style when you're doing just a 0 to 60 run. If I were to drive for the next 15 minutes very aggressively, it's probably going to adapt at that point, and then we might expect to see a change in performance on that run. Now, it's not the case with the dynamic mode. I'm expecting that once we go into dynamic mode for this third test, we should see an improvement in that time, and hopefully pretty close to that 5.5 second mark. So for this final test, we've got it in dynamic mode. We're ready to go. Seven seconds. So no real improvement there. I think that I might have slipped a little bit on the start, and so I think we're going to do another test on that and see if maybe that was what affected our result there. Okay, so this is our third and final run on the 0 to 60. We've got it in dynamic mode now. This is going to be the moment of truth, see whether that button really makes a difference in the performance. Hopefully we can get close to that 5.5 second mark. So for the last time, I'm going to go ahead and time it with the watch, press the start button at the same time I hit the accelerator. .98. So doesn't look like we got any change in performance there either with the sport mode. All right, 6.92 seconds. So what we're seeing from that is that there's really no change using the sport button, which is crazy to me. Again, just like in the Tacoma with the ECT button, I feel like changing that mode, there's a very significant difference in that performance, but really maybe what you see is a change in performance at those higher speeds, you know, passing on the highway or something, because it's already revving at a higher RPM. And so, interestingly enough, doesn't seem to be much of a difference in how that affects the 0 to 60 time. So now that we're done with that 0 to 60 test, we're gonna take a drive down this muddy road, go for a nice run on the river trail. So we made it to our destination on the beautiful Deschutes River. Looking forward to a run. Surprised by the results of what we saw doing that test with the Q5, doesn't seem like there's any real change in performance, whether you're using normal drive mode, the auto mode, dynamic mode. And so, you know, kind of leads me to think that I'd probably just leave the vehicle in normal drive mode in most cases, get that better gas mileage, and you're going to get pretty similar performance either way. Not too shabby as far as getting that 0-60 time of about 7 seconds, given the rated time of 5.5. It's a lot closer to that rated time than what we saw with the Tacoma. Be nice if we get closer to that 5.5 mark, but like I mentioned, there's a lot of variables that affect that, and so I wouldn't necessarily expect to be able to get to that 5.5 mark doing the test the way that we're doing it today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the section below. For more videos on the 2013 Q5, subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, thanks for watching.